For the longest time, I thought my list was the issue, but it turned out I was. Here's how you can stop making the same mistakes I made and start winning more games. Mistake number 1, overextending early. If you're finding that you're often having no army by the end of turn 4 or turn 5, not being able to score your primary late, winning on turn 2 but then losing on turn 5, or running out of gas in a game, these are all issues that come about from overextending early. Overextending early is one of these things that is very enticing to do, sending your army forward, pushing, trying to be the aggressor, taking control of the game, but oftentimes you can send out much more than you need in a game. And so you can fall into these traps of not having an army left by turn 4 or turn 5 because you've kind of ran out of gas. You have no units left. You have things holding objectives, but now they can't go out and do anything else because all your actions have died because you've used them. And this can often lead to you wanting to win a game early, feeling like you're winning the game early, but then by the end of the game you actually lost by 10, 15, 20 points because your opponent had more units left alive. Now obviously there is times where this method works if you're playing like a jail style list, or a list that really requires you to kind of push the opponent. Like there's World Eaters can do this, even though I think they play better playing the more reserved game. But like the AC/DC Renegade Raiders or Shadow Legion lists, there's lots of like jail style lists that just want to pressure your opponent and kind of take over a game. Custodes can do this really well with the Triple Warden units. These kind of armies can push, but they also can play reserved, and it's up to you to decide when to do that. So what can we do to resolve this and to have a game plan going forward? And that's exactly the first thing, is just have a plan. Have a plan if you need to go aggressive. What's your plan for going aggressive? If your opponent doesn't give you that option, what's your game plan for playing reserved? And what's your game plan for being able to decide which way you're going? Like, is there like a certain thing? Okay, if they give me 3 targets, that's when I go aggressive. If they don't give me 3 targets, I'm going to play reserved. Having these kind of things set in stone, one, relieves a lot of the stress that you can have during a game, and also just makes it so you can just play your game. You just don't have to think about it, you just get to play. The next thing is being risk averse. If your opponent gives you 3 targets, but they're all 8 or 9 inch charges, you're going to fail 1 or 2 of those, and you're not going to have a good time. Yes, there will be games where you make every 9 inch charge, but you can't guarantee that. And if anything, that is way less likely to happen than the inverse, which is just failing everything and then just getting absolutely tabled in response. So being risk averse is a really strong way of being able to determine when you need to be aggressive and when you're not, because if you're always a bit more on the hesitant side, but then know when you're going forward, and then when you commit 100%. It's like as soon as you've made your decision, you make it. But be hesitant to start with, especially on turns 1 and 2. You don't want to lose units early that you can then use in the later game and really catapult your way to victory. The next thing is, which is also linked to being risk averse, is thinking about your trades and getting positive trades. Now, positive trading is what I'm talking about here is if you're sending a 100-point unit and you kill an 80-point unit, that's a negative trade. But there's also other ways to think about it. It could be your 100-point unit kills an 80-point unit, but you also flip 5 primary. Now, I would call that a positive trade. So there's different ways of deciding whether a trade is positive or negative or equal. A lot of the time they'll be equal to maybe a little bit negative, but you might get something else out of it that might be better for your game plan. You might be able to set up a move block so some other units are safe. There's lots of different things that can go into this, but making sure that you're setting up, and at least your own opinion, non-negative trades. So they can be middling or they can be positive, but you never want to set up a trade that's going to be negative, which is, again, you need to be risk averse to do that. So you need to be guaranteeing that your trade does what it needs to do. So you can't be like, oh, if I just make the 9-inch charge, everything's good. Well, no, that's too risky. You can't guarantee that. So it's too risky. We're not doing that. Okay, how do we make this better? Okay, cool. If they're in a transport to start the game, they get an extra 3-inch move. Now that 9-inch charge is a 6-inch charge. I have a CP in the bank if I need it. Awesome. Now that it's a 6-inch rerollable charge. Awesome. Okay, I'm confident that can work. So it's lots of things you can do in other aspects of your game and deployment and deciding where your units are when your movement phases to decide whether a trade can be positive or negative as well. So it's another thing. And the last thing would be is accepting losses. You are going to lose units during a game. No game of 40k ends with you having everything going your way. So have a plan for it. Have a plan for, okay, well, what happens if this unit dies? If this unit holding my expansion dies, how do I put something else in that regard? All these different kind of ways of, or if I send this unit out and then they rush me, oh, actually, I'm not set up for this. So how do you accept losing things, but have a game plan for being able to pull things back around and not making sure that it can catapult in the negative for you and that you can use it as a positive? Mistake number 2, command point mismanagement. Now, this is one of the hugest places that I see people mismanaging games in general, is using too many CP early, and especially in the melee matchups. So often I'll be playing against someone and they will never go past 2 CP. They'll use it on a CP reroll. They'll just like, I'll just reroll that, that's fine. Or I thought I'd survive if I had AOC from that shooting phase. Like, well, does it actually matter? Probably not. And then also using stratagems to overkill units. All these things, like, does it matter if there's one guy left alive? Probably not. Okay, don't use the reroll wound stratagem. Or is there a better place to use the stratagem? There's all these kind of things you got to think about. But why I think it's so important in the melee matchups is if you can have 2 CP for an interrupt, it kind of changes the pace of the game. They can only send 1 unit at a time. But if you have an ability to fight on death, so either 3 CP or 4 CP, depending on how much the stratagem costs, well, now they can never do more than 1 trade. And even if they do, it's a 1-for-1 trade now. So, okay. So now if you ever charge me, it's going to be positive unless you're charging me 3 different units, which is just very much often not the case. And even still, you're still killing the first one that charges you because they fight on death, and then the second one you interrupt and you kill them. So at the end, they're only up 1 trade potentially. It changes the dynamic of the game so much, and if you just don't give yourself access to those CP, you're not threatening to do these things. So how would I talk about planning your CP management, and what does a CP management system look like? So the first thing is, 1 reroll really ever helps. So don't think about like, oh, it's like if I keep the save, I won't be bracketed, so I'll be a bit better. Is it really worth it? Like, maybe not. If it's holding an objective, there is times where like a CP reroll is valid, but I would say 8 out of 10 times, 1 in 5 is probably how often it is that they're actually important. Most of the time when you're CP rerolling an advance or a save or a wound roll, it's really not worth it. So just try a game. This is what I often do, is I just have games where I just don't think the CP reroll stratagem works apart from charges. It's kind of always important to be able to reroll a charge, and especially for the arithmetic in your head, you really want to have that kind of bank in there. But everywhere else, just ignore it and just see how your CP management goes not using the command point reroll stratagem. The next thing would be threaten with strats. So what I mean by this is you want to be able to kind of explain to your opponent, like, hey, if you come here, I can do this, or if you come out into the open, I can overwatch you, and it's a pretty gnarly overwatch because I have 10 torrent weapons or whatever it might be, and kind of explain that all to them, and don't hide it for yourself. Yes, it might be a good play for you to be able to do that, but you actually, in your head, you might realize, oh, actually, if I have that CP, then I can rapid ingress over here, and then I can do this, and all these different kinds of things. So by threatening, your opponent might just completely not allow you to overwatch there, but then you get to use that CP somewhere else, and you kind of still manipulated your opponent in a way, not in like a negative sense, but you forced them to play differently than how they would have otherwise. And you can also do this with heroics, with all sorts of different things. You can explain to them, like, hey, like, this unit is completely within heroic range, so if you charge them, I get to heroic with this other unit, and they might have fights first or some other ability that might be really durable. So it's like, hey, you actually won't be flipping that point anyway. So then they're like, okay, well, now you can just have your primary, then fine, I'll go do something else. So a lot of these kind of things, just communicating with your opponent, can be really important in a way to help you keep more CP because they don't want to allow you to use your stratagems. The next one is, when this is what's kind of related to everything so far, is just have a game plan for your CP. Like, okay, like if you're in a melee matchup and you have a fight on death strat, I always need to have CP for interrupt and fight on death. I need both of those. Cool, because that just really nullifies the impact my opponent can do on me. It could be in shooting. It's like, hey, on my shooting phase, on my go turn, I need to have 4 CP on turn 2. So that means I can't use any strats turn 1, and I have to toss a card turn 1 if I'm going first, or something like that. Have these things in your mind, so you know on your turn 2 and your turn 3, if you need to have a certain amount of CP to action your game plan, have a plan in place to get to that amount of CP. And that's going first and going second. You need to have options for these as well, because obviously going first, you have more likelihood of being able to flip an extra command point with discarding a secondary card, but going second, you kind of have a bit more leeway there. So definitely having that plan can be really, really important. And then remember that CP are a resource that you need to be able to use, and are just a really important thing to use. They're a resource just like your units, just like the time on the clock. All these different things are a resource that you need to use. Luckily, CP, you get drip fed them throughout a game, so you can't kind of spend them all at once. This is not an old edition of the game where that used to be the way you could play things. You get a drip feed them throughout the game, so you have to use them a little bit. But it means you can't spend them all at once, which does mean you have to kind of save them if you need them. So think about them as a resource. Try using the command point stratagem less, the command point reroll stratagem less, and just see how your game plays out, see how it feels, and these are the kind of the main steps to improving your CP management. Mistake number 3, weak objective play. This is absolutely monumental. So many people after a game be like, oh, how are you actually planning on holding that objective? And their answer was like, well, like, I thought you just wouldn't kill that unit. I was like, well, what do you mean? It's like, of course I'm going to try and stop you from holding primary. So like scoring 5s on primary again and again and again is like such a good way of losing games of Warhammer 40k. You need to be controlling primary. Obviously there's games like Purge the Foe where you're just scoring 4s against each other and then you're killing for another 4. Like that's fine, and that's how that game is supposed to work. But a lot of the times you're supposed to be getting your 5s, so your 8s or your 10s, not your 5s. And not having a plan for that is just going to lose you games on the spot. Like, you will not win games if you don't have a good source of primary control. And another really big thing to be thinking about is knowing how much OC your opponent's units have. So each model and each unit as a whole, how much OC and where can they move? Okay, is this unit's 12-inch, or they're 2 OC each? Oh, there's 5 of them, so you can dump 10 OC with a 12-inch move and plus an advance roll. Okay, so I need to put more OC onto this objective if I want to be trying to hold it. Now there's ways of playing that, okay, like I'm trading the primary here if they send that unit out, because then you get to kill that unit, and there is different metagame plays you can do there. But for the point of this video, and for kind of the practicing, making sure that you understand how much OC your opponent has and how much OC you have, and being certain on where they can move and where they can dump that OC, and where they can end those moves, where they can charge onto, and understanding that will really solidify your primary game plan. And then the last thing would be focusing on killing over primary. So often this happens where people just get excited, like, okay, you've put something out that I can see, cool, everything's going out to shoot it, and then they just forget about the side primary or even the center, and they're just trying to kill instead of actually holding objectives. Killing should always come secondary. Like, it should come secondary to primary and to secondary objectives. Killing is the third most important thing, because the other two win you games. Killing units really actually ever wins you a game. Like, realistically ever. There's a couple of secondary cards that you want to kill things for. Apart from that, there is really no other reason to be killing units apart from getting tempo and controlling the game. There's obviously reasons to be wanting to destroy your opponent's units. But focusing on killing is another great way of just wanting to lose a game. Like, it might be more exciting to go kill Mortarion, but like, does it actually matter if he lives? Oh, you're going to be scoring more primary if you just lock down and put your Lancer onto a point. So why does he need to shoot Mortarion? Cool, okay, awesome. So like, stuff like that. So understanding where and when to focus on primary, and or when a threat is big enough to divert all your attention to killing it. So my plan would be, is what's holding a point the next turn. This is a huge one where you want to be making sure that not just the unit that's on the objective, but there's a unit that is going to be holding that objective the next turn, because What happens if you have a secondary that you need to get off the point with the unit there? They're the only unit that is able to do it because of where they're positioned. So what's going to be moved onto it? And this could be as simple as, hey, my transport, my rhino, my truck is just going to go on and hold the point if that's the case. But it could also be like, hey, I have these extra action monkeys that are screening my backfield, but it's turn 3 now, so they're actually in my plan there. And I would plan this out in your head, even just roughly every turn after you've, in your opponent's turn, you can be like, okay, well, if this unit needs to go out there, then this unit's going to move on to that point. And just do that every turn. So then when it comes to your turn, you already know exactly where these kind of units are going to be moved. So if you draw, hey, I need a containment, or this is the only unit that can do it, cool, they can move off the objective because I have this other unit that's coming on to secure it for me. The other thing you can do is set up traps. So this is the heroic plays, this is heroic from Rapid Ingress, all this kind of stuff, all these little tricks, putting transports full of guys with a bunch of OC on in the transport. Yes, they might be able to kill the transport, but if they can't kill the guys inside because you've screened them off or what have you, it means they can't kill the transport and flip the primary, because on your turn you'll unbattle shock yourself and then you'll be on the point and being able to score that primary. So setting up these like troubles or these tricks that you can do on your opponent. Reactor moves are also a really important one here to think about. Like, you can react a move onto a point or off a point depending on what you need to do to try and swing the game and swing the power curve in your favor. And yeah, and just really, really important, I'm just going to yell it again, is know yours and your opponent's OC. This is just so fundamental to locking down your primary. If you don't understand how much OC you have on a point, if you're like, oh, 1, 2, 3, I have 3 guys on there. Oh, one of them's OC 1, 2 of them are OC 2. Oh, I have 5 OC on that point. It's like, okay, and then they just move a 5 OC vehicle or 5 idiots, because they don't have to even control the objective. They just have to flip it from you, right? So they only have to put the same amount of OC. So if they know how much OC you have on a point, but you don't even know how much OC you have on a point, there's like a power dynamic shift there, and they can play a better game of 40k because they have more knowledge, right? These are easy things for you to remember and easy things for you to ask your opponent. Hey, how much OC is that unit? Oh, the guys in that transport, how much OC do they have? Oh, and what's the OC of the transport? 2? Okay, cool, thanks. So then you have an idea, and then you can kind of quickly look, okay, where can the transport go? Where can the guys get out? How can they be positioned? Cool, okay, this is what I need to do. So just knowing those things can be super important to structuring your primary and being able to really lock it down. Mistake number 4, poor screening. A lot of the time with screening is people either overdo it or they underdo it. There's really no in between. In between is almost the worst place as well, where like they screen up part of the board but not the other part. But a couple of the really common things that you hear is, oh, you can actually fit back there? Oh, right, I forgot that you had deep strike there, or, oh, that deep strike lost me the game. All these kind of things can be really important and can really punish you if you don't understand them, know what your opponent has that has deep strike, all these kind of things. It's really, really important to understand all these different pieces. Also understand where you need to be screening, because there's places where you need to screen and there's places where you don't. So what are the things you need to think is, yeah, ensure everywhere important is blocked. So this is not the whole battlefield. You're not going to screen the whole battlefield. We're not GSC here. But what you need to do, or unless you are GSC, then specifically, yes, you can block the whole board. But like, figure out where is the worst place if they rapid ingress. Where is the worst place if they deep strike their unit down. All these different things, that's where you need to screen from. There will be places where you're like, oh, I would love to screen there, but it's not worth sending the unit out. So if they rapid ingress there, let's just have a game plan. Let's put this other unit a bit closer to that side. So if they do rapid there, on my next turn, I can actually do something about it in action. Yes, they're going to flip my primary, or yes, they're going to kill that unit, but then at least I get to do something in return. So like stuff like that is the kind of balance and where you want to be thinking about. You're never going to be able to block everywhere out, but blocking the important places and just playing more games, you'll really start to understand where the important places are and where the less important places are. The next thing would be always expect rapid ingress from on your turn 2 and on your turn 3, and if they have abilities to go back into reserve every turn of the game, expect them to be rapid ingressing. Even if they don't, expect them to. Think about where is the worst place if they do rapid ingress. That's where they need to be. And I have this video. I have a video talking about rapid ingress, the best places to use it, how to think about where your opponent's going to be wanting to rapid ingress, and all of that in this masterclass that's going to be linked in the video down below. The next would be screen hard turns 2 and 3, because that's most of the in 80% of your games, that is all you're going to have to do, and then your screening is completely done for the game. There is unique use cases. Some armies can go back into reserves, like demons and grey knights, and some units have abilities to go back into reserve, like scouts and the Calidus assassin. There's all these different ways that maybe there is another unit, but again, if you're planning to screen hard on turns 2 and 3, you're getting the majority of your games screened perfectly, right? So practice with that, and then when these unique use cases come up, then you can change your game plan for it. But you should have a game plan for screening turns 2 and 3 always. What units you're doing it with? Is it this transport? Is it this secondary unit that can go? Maybe you have your own unit of scouts that, cool, these guys are going to screen turn 2 and 3, then go back into reserve so they can do secondaries for me late game. These are all really important things you need to be thinking about and having the game plan for. Mistake number 5, tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is an interesting one here. The main reason I wanted to bring this up is people get focused on one aspect of 40k often, like they need to kill this unit, or they need to screen too much, or they need to reserve the CP too much. Like if you focused on any one of these mistakes that I've talked about so far and forgotten the rest of them, you're still probably going to lose that game. So you need to be focusing on the big picture of the game. You need to be making sure that you're not killing that big scary unit, not just trying to kill that big scary unit, that you weren't scared to leave your deployment zone because of the scary scout and then advance and charge. That you need to be able to still play your game and focus, and not focusing on one part of the game specifically, and really stepping back and overviewing the whole game, every single one of your turns, thinking about what do you need to win the game, what do you need to do to make sure that you are not in a losing position and that you're actually in a winning position for this game. So yeah, so you need to just zoom out every single turn, decide and analyze how do you win the mission. So look at the primary mission, how do I lock this down, how do I win it, and then come back to it every turn. Like you should do it before deployment, you should do it before the first turn roll off, and then every single one of your turns, how do you win the mission from this point in the game? So from the beginning of the game and each one of your turns, how do you win this mission? And then flip it again on them, every single one of their turns. What's their plan? How are they winning the mission? Are they doing the same strat as me? Because I obviously think I have the best plan. Or do they have a different style army and they're trying to do it in a different way? And if that is the case, how do you deal with how they're going to play the game? So then by analyzing those two things, you get to figure out exactly what you need to do to play your game. That gives you your win con for the game. So if you can analyze, if you zoom out every turn, figure out how you're going to win the mission, how your opponent's going to win the mission, then you understand what your win con is for the game. So with those things, and if you take all 5 of these mistakes, I guarantee you that you will start doing better in your games of Warhammer 40k. If you like this video, I'll have another one linked here or here, somewhere around there. Otherwise, like the video, subscribe, or I'll see you guys next time. Bye.